Hey, welcome back everyone. So in today's video, I'll be drawing this Valkyrie art and it'll be a time lapse out of the Procreate app. And I want to take the time to talk about the AI art development that we've been experiencing and my thoughts on that. So without further ado, let's jump into today's discussion. So I've been wanting to make this video for a while now, and I've been kind of waiting because honestly, this whole AI development has left me kind of wondering like where to take this, how to process this. At first, I think it incited a lot of fear. So AI art's been around for years now, actually. We just didn't feel threatened about it, I think, until the past few months because it really wasn't that good. And then all of a sudden it got very good very quickly. And I'm sorry to say that's something you're going to see a significant exponential growth on probably, next few months, next few years, definitely. Probably next few months, because what's happening right now is you have a lot of companies fighting over control of a market. They found this gold mine. They're all going to fight over it, and they're all going to develop technology. The money is going to fund the technology. It's just going to skyrocket. So be ready. But the thing is whether or not to fear it. So naturally, I think we all do, especially when you've dedicated huge sums of your life to developing a skill set to produce art. Then all of a sudden you see something that can somehow take ideas and hodgepodge it together into sometimes pretty horrific things, and then other times pretty amazing things. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that I think the AI does really well and some of the things it doesn't. But again, we have to be ready for it to just start doing all of it very well because it's backed with computer processing and bright minds that are making these algorithms work. And I imagine there's even a bit of learning that occurs from the prompt systems. But can you really call it art? Is it really a thing that we need to worry about as artists? And I'm on the fence a little bit. So from the very start of it, I was just like, oh, this is wrong. This is horrible. Especially if there is any chance that it's taking art indiscriminately, entering it into a database, and then pumping out product and then monetizing that product by selling subscriptions, then of course there is something horrifically wrong and morally, ethically wrong with that, and it needs to be regulated. But I've heard this explained a couple ways, one of which where it's not necessarily even doing that, it's learning from the data, existing content out there, which wouldn't be illegal. You can't tell anybody or anything that it can't learn from its surrounding environments. Unfortunately, that's just not a copyrightable thing. You can learn from observing. Anybody can, anything can, I imagine. And then what happens is, based on the learning, the calculations that it does, for instance, let's put in a very simplistic concept, or maybe not so simplistic in terms of programming, but where we can all kind of relate. Have you ever seen a painting and you realize immediately that the color works really, really well? Well, it's because they used corresponding, complementary colors, right? It's pretty simple, maybe not entirely simple for a computer to first understand, but once it gets it, it's got it, and it's good night, Irene, right? It's gonna do it right every single time, and that's actually one of the things that I see the AI does really, really well. It picks beautiful colors almost every time. I'm not saying every time, but that's something that seems to calculate pretty easily in its system and utilize its database or collection of learning procedurals that it gathered from existing content elsewhere. I don't know how that works. All I can say is I notice immediately certain things like blending of color, like digital painting effects, blending, color usage were spot on. Now, there were other things like distortions and not knowing where to put a certain feature, anatomy being skewed. Sometimes it could look really cool and it could give you some really neat kind of almost, I don't want to say Geiger. Right? You could definitely see it's pulling, for anything alien, it's pulling Geiger. There's no doubt. From many of the ones I've seen, you remotely enter a prompt of alien, it's pulling from some Geiger stuff. Whether or not that's legally okay to do, I don't know. I don't know how that would be, but it's in there. And so when it's like something that's kind of squished and mangled together, I guess that could be some Geiger, because he did do a lot of that stuff as well, but different anatomy, arm like flying off the side of the body where it shouldn't be, It does that, it does creature concepts really well. It can do a fair amount of good, like female characters, parts, I notice it does really well. Like a portraiture style, it does really well. So far, I wasn't able to get any of the ones that I used to be able to adjust perspective properly. Okay, so, and again, these are things that the AI software is going to fix really quickly, based on various prompts and what it knows people need to be able to relate to it. It's going to happen. So here's the thing, and besides of pointing out things I think it does well and things it didn't do well, let me put it this way. I even used it briefly for what you see in front of you. Now this is obviously a comic style, rendered, cross-hatching. I could not get it to do anything like this, but I'm not saying that's out of the realm. Give it a few more months, few more years, But what I was able to do, and what actually gave me a little bit better perspective on it, was I started to look at components of what I needed for reference, just like you would go to Google and reference angel wings, right? I did that with a few of these apps. And actually, I found that to be very effective, very, very effective. In fact, I've even done a couple digital paintings by studying the reference and mainly looking at the things it does well. The color, the blending, proportions were a bit weird. I don't know about proportions. In some areas, it's almost like you have to cherry pick what it's doing right. But in that regard, it became really effective for reference. See, and the reason why I'm trying to look at this in a positive standpoint and find something we can use as artists is because I don't feel, well, one thing is I don't want to allow it to replace us. And also, I don't want to feel that it could replace us. I want to use it as a tool and learn and grow and maybe orchestrate with it a bit. I mean, I really think it needs to be regulated, honestly. It just can't, if it's taking in the way that it was first explained to me about indiscriminately taking artwork and inserting it into a database and then, kind of photo bashing it together, then that's just flat out wrong, especially when it's not to the consent of the families that are left over, or really the people that have passed, but the families of those people. I mean, it's just horrible. It shouldn't be a thing. And I don't imagine that could be, because there's so many of these companies that sprung up, some of them tied in with some very big companies. You got to figure they got to have extensive legal teams advising them. They're not going to invest all this time and money in this technology only to have it uprooted by violating some very commonly known laws. I'm assuming that the computer is learning like a true sense of AI, where it does learn what works and why, what's pleasing to a human eye, and then integrating that into its set of processes. But again, I don't know. You guys are welcome to comment below and let me know how that works if you know more about it. But again, if we can utilize this as a tool to generate reference, and I don't mean utilize it to make a picture and then slap another filter on it and say you did it. Yeah, I put in these prompts and this is what I got and it looks amazing. No, that, for one, and I don't even want to get into why that's ethically wrong. I want to get into why that wouldn't even be good for you as a person. That'd be like saying, hey, I'm going to have Joe over there do 10 sets of benches for me, and I'm going to log it into my workout book, right? You're just not going to get the results off Joe over there doing your bench for you. Same thing with this program. You should want to develop your skills as an artist. But now if you can use it to help you in the process of generating ideas, well, I mean, why not? I mean, this is what's crazy about it. These are clicks of a button, series of prompts, clicks of a button, and all of a sudden you've got these ideas generated. You just shouldn't want to use them as the end result. Even if you find one that's amazing in every way you can think of, then paint it, draw it, rework it. Maybe not even try to make changes. You're going to make changes naturally because that's what our style tends to do. It works itself in there usually. Whether or not you call that your style or the fact that you just can't recreate it. But the main thing is that you're going to learn immensely. So instead of looking at it like this monster of a thing, and let me, before I get done with this, let me say there are some aspects of it where I am horrified by the fact that this has allowed people to jump in and take away jobs, okay? And again, back to the whole regulation thing. I don't think it should be allowed to be worked in without an artist, working with the imagery and recreating it. I don't think it should be able to enter into commercial art. So I know an artist that, is already experiencing work issues from it, really good at generating these ideas and painting these ideas with little to no reference. And all of a sudden it's like, well, no, you know, these commercial art jobs are now going to people that can click prompts and generate the images. I'm sorry, to me that's just flat out wrong, and it's destructive. It's destructive because, you know, I caught flack for this somewhere else, I can't remember, but I'm just going to say it again. How many jobs do you realistically think you can wipe out? And we're talking good jobs here. Creative-based jobs are essential jobs as well, because we need creative people to keep being creative. You don't use it, you lose it, right? You do really want the world to be a less creative place? I don't think you do. Whether or not you think you do, I mean, you know, I'm telling you that the hindsight to that is going to tell you didn't want that. But the thing is that if you give away all these creative jobs, that's got to be so destructive to the economy. It's got to be really destructive to society in the sense that a lot of times us creative types, you know, we probably wouldn't have thrived as well, nearly as well in a lot of other situations. I'm telling you right now, I'm not a cubicle guy. I don't think I would have survived that scenario. Like, I need my creativity. I have always been this way. I mean, I've been self-employed since I was 25, and I worked, my first real job that I absolutely loved was being a graphic vinyl cutter and sticker maker, and that was from 18 to 24. Like, I needed that job. I was blessed to find that job. And so you start handing these types of jobs, these creative types of jobs away, and you really hurt a big section of the population that thrives on creativity, that needs it pretty much like their peanut butter and jellies. Like, you got to have it. So it's like, this is all I'm saying. Like, a lot of it has to be considered, not just like, hey, you know, but a machine can do it better. I mean, at what point do we wipe away so many jobs that we just eliminate the ability for our society to be effective? I mean, are we really trying to create the Matrix here? Are we really trying to just become batteries for the computers? I mean, it's getting pretty bad. I'm finally realizing Terminator was not a science fiction movie. It was, in fact, a documentary from the future. But yeah, so what started this whole debate, or at least a series of ideas that I wanted to express about this, was I watched a video with Clayton Barton and Ed Foychuk over at howtodrawcomics.net, and they went back and forth, and they had different opinions about it, and it just really sparked a lot of ideas. And I was really in the fear mode at that time about this whole thing. But again, after utilizing it, I started to see it does certain things well, really well, and it does other things not so well. It is going to bridge that gap of those not so well abilities, but at the same time, we should be fighting back as artists to do the best creative work that we can, to show that, for one of our safeguards of this whole process is our style. And that's why I wanted to share this piece. I also wanted to make sure to do this digitally, because I wanted to show you that, you know, hopefully what comes through on this particular piece is my style. Imperfections and all, that's what I'm trying to convey here and share with somebody. It's not a perfect piece. I'm sure AI could do certain things better. That's not the point. I'm trying to carry you on a little bit of a journey with me through my style and my imagination. And so that comes through with digital tools as well. This is the other part. Now I'll close this. If you keep trying to make life easier and easier for yourself, you're the victim. You become a lesser version of you. We are built as our homeostasis, our whole process of survival is built upon thriving through adversity. I mean, it really is. The strongest people you will ever meet always come from adversity, always come from a hard background. They always had to fight through something. I mean, when have you ever met somebody that's been handed everything and they're just like got this easy lifestyle and they're the toughest, strongest BA person you ever met? No, it's not how it works. I mean, I don't know that I know any of those stories. You know, it's the people that had to fight tooth and nail to get what was theirs, what they needed, what they respected and wanted out of life. They're the people that do the most, and it makes total sense. You want to chase the things that are hard in life. It literally makes you a better version of you. So go do all the AI clicking and downloading you want. It's not going to make you the artist you want to be. You got to use it in a way where it makes you better. And again, look at the images, find what's best about them, recreate them in your own style. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So thanks very much for tuning in. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, keep drawing, keep having fun, and bye for now.